And welcome into the program. This is your host, Corey Short, and this is our inaugural episode. We are Cosmic Koolaid, Episode 1, Season 1, first of maybe a new career. You never know. Sitting in the booth with me, I got my friend of a long time colleague, Todd Lewis. And Todd Lewis has worked with me on multiple fronts over the years, and we've done a lot of sound stuff, festivals, shows together, but Todd rose to the top of this game and is the front of house sound engineer for Luke Combs.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the program, buddy. Yeah. How were your holidays?
Good. We had a good time with the boys and just all the good stuff, you know.
Did you get the whole holiday season off from the road? Like did you get a good amount of time?
Yeah, we were. So our last show was December 9th and 10th in Oklahoma City. So I had from then. Hell, I'm still off. We don't go back out. We start like tour rehearsals at the end of February. So I've got a decent amount of time off.
So this year you guys are going out all over the world.
Yes. Yeah. We're 16, I believe it's 16 stadium shows in NFL stadiums this year. And then 16 countries also around the world. A lot of countries we've not done before. Some places I'd really like to get to. Hopefully we've got some time and really looked at the schedule as far as time off and days off in between shows, but looks like it's going to be really cool.
So what countries so far have you gone to with Luke Combs?
With Luke, we've done Australia, all of the UK, Germany, and Amsterdam. I think that pretty much covers it.
Now, have you done any world traveling before this job?
No. As a matter of fact, I had to get my passport while I was working here for the first time that we did the C2C festival in the UK. It's a pretty cool festival. It's almost like the Warped Tour for country music in another country.
Sure.
So nothing exactly like the Warped Tour. But it's a good time. You know, the bands just rotate around these several venues. We did that, and then I think it was the first year we did one city in Germany, Columbia, Germany. It was the Columbia Theater in Germany. Pretty cool little place.
Now, what is that like? So I know when you're touring here in the United States, you have these big trailers, tractor trailers full of gear. What happens when is it just everything brought in from a third-party company?
Basically. So we will take very minimal. We used to take very minimal stuff. We would take, guitars and pedal boards. The drum kit typically is rented overseas. We used a company called John Henry's. When we were using regular amplifiers, we could, have our pick out of their inventory and the real, the amps that you're going to find that most people use, they have them in their inventory, all kinds of different versions. The guys can go through and play the ones and pick out one they like, and that comes on tour with us. As far as control, the consoles and stuff like that, we rent all that over there. As you get bigger and whatever you want to call it, you're able to take your stuff with you, your control package, but we're not going to take like an entire stage because you got to fly that shit over there, and that's just ridiculously expensive. So, but yeah, for the most part, we can take everything it takes to do a show with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite experience overseas so far? Like what stood out to you as something different that you can't get back here?
Kangaroo. You can't buy that at the.
As in edible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. Some of the different dishes that you're just not going to find here. Vietnamese street food. Some really, just stuff you're not going to find unless you're in New York City. Asheville's got its bustling food Everybody thinks they're a foodie over here, even if they think Applebee's is being a foodie.
Well, we are very pro cannabis on this show.
Yes.
Our sponsor is Trinity Farms. We're going to have a coupon code in the coming episodes for y'all to get a special discount from watching this show. But go check out Trinity Farms. We're very pro cannabis. So that brings me to my next question, which is, and I'm certain some of you guys and some of the guys on the team are pro cannabis for whatever reason, medical, party, whatever. They're musicians. That's what they do. Anyway. What's it like navigating those laws, state to state, and even country to country as you're touring?
State to state, I think with the climate today, that's one of the last worries of police, in any given city. They're not running around to every tour bus and stuff like that.
Because, like for example, we were trying to bring Snoop Dogg to Silverados, and one of the big things before I made my offer was, is the police department of the town in Silverados going to play ball? Are they going to, because if we write a 6-figure check to bring Snoop Dogg in and they shut him down in the first 5 minutes, that's the end of Corey Short. That's the end of the business. That's the end of it all.
Right.
So, but you can't get them to say they won't do it.
Right.
It just, so I'm just curious how that went city to city.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like...
Luke's not Snoop Dogg, but, I'm just saying.
Right. And,
he's not out on stage with fat blunts.
On stage, right. Yeah, it's a different environment. What people do before, after the show, crew, band, anything like that.
You're pretty well left alone.
Yeah, and people are smart, they're not going to just be walking around town. It's one of in the places that it is fully legal, especially overseas. It's like, man, it's fully legal, but they want you in the coffee house. It's just a etiquette thing.
Sure. Don't
be walking down the road smoking, stuff like that. So you just kind of blend in.
Right.
The biggest one is, it's actually funny, but crossing, the closest country to country crossing, is Canada. And a lot of the places that you cross to and from Canada, the state that you're in, it's legal, and it's fully legal in Canada, except for that 500 yards of border crossing.
Yeah.
You better not have it there.
Right.
So
give me some more details about what's coming up in 2023.
Oh, man.
What are you most excited about?
I think having a consistent run of the stadiums. This year we did 4 stadiums, and they were mixed in between, rebookings of shows that were in the round, rebookings of shows that were in stage. So, it'd be one, and then a festival or we really had to reconfigure the rig this year. We were set up for the 360, and in that, all the amplifiers, everything is flown, because you can't have any cables coming down right there at the stage.
So now I know this is we're going to have some guys that watch this episode because they're going to pull up your name and they're going to be in the sound business and they're going to do what you do and they're going to laugh at this question, but forgive the lack of knowledge here. Mm-hmm. Is it easier to mix sound in a stadium than it is at, say, Silverados or inside of a bar because of the magnitude of how big it is? Is it equal to dial in those nuances?
I would say yes. It's a double-edged sword, honestly. In a 50 to 100 cap room or a couple hundred cap room, you've got your drums that you can still hear when you're at the console because you're 50 feet from them, tops. When you're in a stadium, I can't hear the drums coming off the stage because I'm almost 300 feet away from them. So you get more control that way, but when you've got 56,000 people screaming their heads off, there becomes you're fighting that, and you kind of got to really be disciplined and not fighting that urge to just blast through it, and keep it comfortable for everybody front to back. My system techs do a great job of getting the coverage, from one end of the stadium to the other. But I think this year, going the way we're doing it, I think it's going to be even better than the last year was.
So I think anybody that's paying attention in this business or in entertainment at all can probably agree that you have one of, if not the best, sound job in the world. I mean, I think there's only one dude on planet Earth selling more tickets, and that's that Bad Bunny guy. And, that's it on planet Earth.
Oh, Bad Bunny's a guy. Well.
Oh, I don't know. I just saw it on Polestar. I just checked the Polestar, and, it's Luke Combs and Bad Bunny, and they're always, right there.
Right.
In the world.
That's crazy.
That means you have that level. In the world, Todd, you have the best sound job in the world.
Right. Yeah, I consider myself, I don't want to say lucky. A lot of people, and they don't mean any harm by it. They say, "Oh man, you're so lucky." And it's like, maybe, but I work my nuts off.
Absolutely, you do.
And it's not I did this all by myself. Chances like this, it just happened that Luke is from Asheville. I was working in Asheville, doing what I do, at the club level. And my wife at the time brought him in there, and we met, we talked, and, hit it off. What people consider lucky is really when preparedness and opportunity meet.
So let's dig a little deeper into that. Mm-hmm. When you met Luke, how long ago was it? What year-ish? And how? Give me more details on how you met him through Leslie.
Yeah, so 2016, I believe. I was mixing a show at the Orange Peel. I believe it was Steep Canyon Rangers, the bluegrass band, Steve Martin's band, for people that aren't from the Asheville area or not into bluegrass or comedy. God, what a boring life you have.
Right. You don't know who Steve Martin is. Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah, right. I was mixing them, and Leslie had shown me a video. Had sent me several videos at the time. I think Vine was the big thing then. And she was like, "Oh my God, you got to check this guy out. He's so amazing." And she'd send me videos. I'm like, "Yeah, he's pretty good, but I don't know. Just probably a healthy dose of having done it as long as I had, even at that point." I was like, we'll see. And I didn't know at the time that he was from Asheville. And he was putting up really cool covers. But come to find out, she texted me that night that I was mixing that show, and she's like, "Hey, can you get me in that Luke guy?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, I texted him on Vine or YouTube or something, and said if you ever get to Asheville, North Carolina, you need to meet my husband." And I was like, and he was like, "Man, well, that's crazy. I'm actually home visiting my parents over in Otine, which is 10-minute ride from the Orange Peel." And so she brought him in, and, he's like, "Man, I really like what I hear." I was like, "Well, and at the time I wasn't good at networking. I was always, keep your head down and do a great job and blah, blah, blah. But in that, we just kept up with each other. And I was like, "Hey, if you ever get a club that you're going back to that you hate the sound guy or, it's just whatever, you're going to have a bad day, give me a call. I'm on salary. I can figure it out." So a few months later, I got a call, or he called me. He's like, "Hey, we're going to be playing at the Buckhead Theater down in Atlanta, and why don't you come do sound for us?" I was like, "Cool." So everything's going along. I was, checked in with him, I don't know, maybe a month later before the show. And I was like, "Hey, just making sure." I actually called management. I was like, "Hey, just want to make sure everything's good for this." And management was like, "Well, I got a buddy that's going to mix that show." So I kind of tucked my tail between my legs and went, "Well, okay." And took a tour with a group called Chainsmokers, EDM thing. And it was the first tour they'd done in America. And it was 3 days in the Southeast. did those, and
you were front of house on that?
monitors.
Okay.
So I was right up next to the stage and the fire and the pyro. And
Yeah, they do a big show.
Yeah, it was crazy. And even back then, just for the 3 shows, they were tearing it up. But so I did those, and the day I got back to Knoxville, we're counting in all the gear and everything like that off the truck. I get a call about 10:30 in the morning from management, and they're like, "Hey, my buddy flaked out on me. Can you get to the Buckhead Theater?" I was like, "Dude, I'm in Knoxville, but let me work on it." So I went to the boss, and I was like, "Hey,
that was the best fucking decision of your life.
Oh, for
Just so you
sure. Well, and I don't even think, I've run into this twice over the years, and I still like to give management a little bit of grief about it. There's probably the guy, that buddy, that was going to mix that show. I bet he wakes up and kicks himself.
Oh,
right
my
square.
gosh, dude.
Oh.
Yeah. You and Luke ever talked about that again? Like, who was that guy?
I don't even know the dude's name.
Man.
But I do talk to management.
That dude's got to be on
He's
suicide watch.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he has to wear boots, no shoelaces allowed, There's that guy that probably kicks himself in the nuts every day. And I was mixing a show at Wayno's Silver Bullet.
Hickory.
In Hickory.
Yeah.
Dave Osborne was sound guy out there. He had some heart problems. They called me in to mix a show.
Yeah.
And I mixed, I think it was Al's band, Problem Child.
Okay.
AC/DC cover band. And was talking, blah, blah, blah.
Shout out Al Edens.
Al, what up? So I think we're between sets, and I'm probably had a Luke jacket on or something like that. I don't know that I own any clothes that aren't Luke labeled. But I ran into this guy, and he's like, "Man, you work for Luke?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Man, he invited me to join his band 5-6 years ago, whatever it was." And I told him no. I was like, "Well, how's Suicide Watch for you?" He's like, "Yeah." I took a picture with him, sent it to Luke, and he's like, "Oh, man."
Oh, man.
Knew exactly who he was and everything like that, plus the band that didn't follow him to Nashville. He had a band here, and when he decided to move to Nashville, they were like, peace out, Trout. So there's a group of guys right there that, can't live with themselves. But, yeah, everybody makes choices.
Right.
And you might hit the next best thing, and country music might not have been their thing.
Right.
That's fine. But, I grew up on a decent amount of country. My parents were more Air Supply and
Speedwagon.
Yeah, the old light rock station. They were listening to oldies before they were oldies. And they were
Dude, my dad used to wear me out with Speedwagon. When I was a kid, I hated it so much. Speedwagon sticks, but man, today, that's life music, bro.
Oh, for
life
sure.
music.
For
Good
sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
So, all right, y'all, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
In 2023, lines will be crossed, champions will be determined, and legends will be made. HVW once again sets the stage for great professional wrestling in Western North Carolina, bringing the best talent together for the Showdown Series at Silverados. Featuring TJ Boss, Jada, Stone, Reno, Royce, Luca, Daniels, Marcus, Erics, Michael, and King Enterprise. The bar and standard in professional wrestling has always been high in North Carolina. This year, High Velocity Wrestling takes that into the atmosphere. It's the Showdown Series at Silverados.
Hey, we're back here with Todd Lewis. Todd Lewis is the front of house sound engineer for Luke Combs. He's worked with, who all have you worked with, man?
Oh, Lord. Besides a day-to-day basis type thing, being at the Orange Peel, we averaged somebody will correct us on this. One of the times I went through, it was like 253 shows, which is a lot because you had church and stuff like that would rent the place out. It's 10 years of that. Besides those, and just the playlist of people that come through the Orange Peel, when honestly, not a whole lot. One of my first tours was a thing called This is the 60s, which was really cool. It was like a documentary style deal where everybody changed outfits, but it was more of a theater type show. Shenandoah did some of their stuff, obviously from previous question, Chainsmokers, which honestly, being a 90s kid, dude, to get a phone call on your phone, it pops up and you see this number and you hear, Todd Lewis, this is Marty Rabin from the band Shenandoah. And I was just like, oh my God, I about fell over. And that was during the COVID thing.
Right.
They tour a lot of Texas and all that. And Texas didn't give a shit. They didn't shut down. They didn't do nothing.
Right.
And they were just wide ass open. So did a couple months with them during the COVID. There was a period that I went out and did. Frankie Ballard. 1 year, Luke blew his voice out at the CMA festival. We played in the stadium. It was the first year we played. I think it was 2017 or 18. He had to take some time off, and Frankie Ballard wound up taking the slot at some festivals that we had booked over the next 2 weeks, and I wound up going doing him. And that was cool. Great guy, great band. Shenandoah, amazing band. Those would be kind of the highlights. Did a little Texas one time. I don't know if you remember back at the hangar down in South Asheville. Did them
Little Texas played the Hangar?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It was, way back. There's somewhere, there's a picture of me on this old analog console. It was hilarious,
So what is your favorite moment thus far to date as Luke Combs sound man?
I would have to say the time last year that Ed Sheeran came out and sang with us. That was a hellacious day.
Please tell me he's a nice guy.
Seemed to be. I never got to me. He didn't come
That
out
would be
until-
so heartbreaking if he were an asshole. Because he
for
just
sure.
seems like a sweet guy,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can only assume. I know him and the boss are, they talk from time to time. I don't know how in depth or anything like that, but we were playing the C2C festival over there in the UK, and we were playing the O2 there in London, but the night before we were in Ireland, and those two were not connected by roads. So middle of the show in Ireland, we get this call. We're like, hey, the ferries are going to stop going at midnight, and your stuff's not going to make it, like all our gear.
Right.
We had 4 bands worth of stuff. It was us, Ashton McBride, Flatland Cavalry, and Haley Witters. And I was mixing Haley, Flatland, and Luke. Ashley had her own guy. Great guy. So we get this call, hey, your stuff's not going to make it, so you better come up with alternate plans. So we wound up having to rent a 737 to get all our shit from point A to point B. And in my mind, I went, well, if there's a storm on the water that's causing the boats not to be able to go, what about the shit in the air that's causing the weather down at sea level? But not my job, and not my circus, not my monkeys. So we get to the O2, and they're like, hey, your stuff didn't make it. The people at customs didn't come to work, so your stuff's still sitting in a truck 500 miles away or however many miles away it is. So we had to source all the gear that day.
Wow.
And guitar. Fine electric guitar is one thing. Drumsticks, guitar picks, everything.
This was the night Ed played with you guys?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, at this point, I didn't know that Ed was playing with us. So we're, the PM scrambling to find gear. I think we found the one steel guitar in the whole UK that a fan offered up via Instagram to Kurt to be able to play on this show. And actually, this one show actually covers worst nightmare and coolest thing ever. We're doing our thing, trying to get built, and gear's just trickling in personal vehicles and everything like that. And Luke's on stage, like, guys, can I help? Can I run wires? Let me hook something up. We're like, dude, go rest. Go do your thing. But that just speaks to the kind of guy that Luke is. He's not just the star. I mean, if he needs to help, he'll help, or at least offer.
Right.
So we get everything going, and we're literally sound checking as the headliner a half hour into doors.
Oh, wow.
People are in the room, and we did one song, and that was all I got. So at the top of the show, I had forgot about something in my show file and didn't have Luke's vocal. Had to stop the show. So that covered my worst nightmare. But then...
now, what do you mean by that? How does that happen? How do you not have Luke's vocal in that mode? Because it was stored in the board. Right.
So with the gear that we had out on the rest of that UK run, I've got it's an external piece of gear that just when he's not singing, it clamps down on the vocal.
Got it.
It's kind of like what the refs use in the NFL when they turn the mic on. It keeps the noise out until they start talking.
Sure.
It's called a 5045 Rupert Neve box. It's great. But if you don't disengage that path, audio is still going to try to pass through it. But I'd forgot to disengage that piece of gear, and he wasn't there for sound check, so we didn't even. Other guys had line checked it, but I hadn't. And totally my fault.
Now, was Luke? Was he forgiving of that? Were y'all cool?
Totally forgiving.
I mean, after a couple hundred shows and zero mistakes.
Right. Yeah. The first thing I did is, as I'm playing the walkout music, I told my systems engineer, I was like, hey, just shut this down. We're done. We'll go. And first place I went was to the green room. Dude, I'm so sorry. He's like, no, it was actually perfect because everything was a little weird because they went from their line output, guitar pedal things to regular amps, and things were a little wonky as far as gain structure and what their ears sounded.
How cool of him, though, to be cool to you in that moment. He could have totally diva'd out and made you feel like shit. And, man, kudos to you, Luke Combs. That's good stuff.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this. I mean, we all are Asheville folks, and we love having Luke Combs be from here. Have you been to the ranch in Nashville?
I have not.
You've not been to Luke's Ranch?
No, I've not.
Man, I was hoping to pick your brain all about that ranch. So if you're watching Mama Combs, you need to come be on the show and tell us all about Luke's Ranch. You and Lee, just come on down. We'll feed you, and we'll talk about Luke's Nashville home. So Todd doesn't have those goodies to give us, so we're going to move along here. Tell me about the politics, man. So on the break, we were asking about Morgan Wallen, and I know that Morgan Wallen got in trouble for speaking out of place last year, and it caused a lot of controversy, and it looks like, he's made a comeback of comebacks from that. Huge numbers he's doing now, trying to catch up with Luke, actually. And, it's good to see anybody make a comeback story. It's good to see personal growth in people, and it seems like he's doing that. But all in all, tell me, how's the politics like between like Kane Brown, Morgan Wallen, Luke Combs, and you're right there on the front lines. Do these guys get along? Is it competitive? What's it like?
I think depending on the phrasing of the question,
you saying you didn't like my verbiage there?
No. But it depends on how somebody interprets the verbiage. I feel like, and this is me saying this, I speak for nobody. All of my observation is that I feel like all these people feel like there's enough success to go around for everybody. You know, there's enough variety in their styles that you can like Luke, you can like Kane, you can like Morgan. Hell, my playlist has got all three of them in there. You know, everything from Ballerini to every basically.
Is it the goal of most of these guys to write their own stuff? Or are some of them just fine with being a country star in a box and singing other people's shit for their whole career? Like Rascal Flatts. They don't write shit.
Right.
They just sing other people's stuff.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, I think some of that is really, letting people do what they're really good at. You know, if you're a really good singer, like Gary LeVox, I mean,
Phenomenal, right?
Great singer. Play to your strengths. And do that. I feel like that there's enough, and there's so many writers in Nashville with great ideas. Let them do their thing, and you kind of work hand in hand, and everybody succeeds, and everybody eats at the end of the day. You don't have to be. There's plenty of frontmen that can't play a single note on a guitar, and they have all the success in the world because they're great vocal.
Okay, Luke Combs Sound Man. Let me ask you this. So we're going to shout out Full Cast Pod again, but Luke I was watching the Full Sin podcast with Luke earlier before you got here, and he was going on and on about how he is not good at guitar. So do you bring him way down in the mix and to give way to the other guys? Because, he's self-admitted. He's like, I'm not great at guitar. I just learned 11 years ago, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Depends on the song. There's some songs that you, for better or for worse, you have to let them be right there.
Right.
And
he does solo acoustic stuff, so he can play.
Yeah,
he can carry himself. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a solo guy. He's not going to be just shredding ass. He's not a Brent Mason or anything like that. But he can keep time and
Now I heard that Kenny Chesney has played his whole career not plugged in. He's not actually playing. Is that true? Have you ever heard that? He just gets up there and the guitar is in his hands for show only.
Doesn't surprise me. You see plenty of that. I've not paid enough attention to really.
I just didn't know if that was an insider pro tip there in country music you could offer.
I'd say it's not out of the realm of possibility. You've definitely seen people that do it, as far as that individual, I just don't know.
So for those of you that don't know, Todd said a few minutes ago that his worst nightmare was losing Luke's vocal in the Ed Sheeran night, but anybody that's been paying attention to this journey knows that Luke and Todd's worst nightmare came in Las Vegas.
Yes.
A few years back. Can you just give us a few minutes on what that night was like for you and for the band?
That was a very interesting night.
And for those that don't know what we're talking about, this is the mass shooting in Vegas at the Jason Aldean show. At the time Luke Combs was the opener, Todd was there. Go ahead, Todd. Tell us about that.
So the Route 91 festival there in Vegas, had been doing it for a little while. We had played the Next from Nashville stage, which is at the opposite end of the festival grounds there. And it was the last night of the festival. We got done. The crew's trying to load that stage and everything goes with it out, to get an early start on getting home. So I was PM and front of house at the time, and
PM,
production manager.
Okay.
So basically, everything was my responsibility to get back on the truck, plus doing front of house duties. So we get everything loaded up. Our bus was parked right there. We pull around to to the main lot where all the rest of the buses were for the main stage, and I'm back in the back of the bus when we were parking in the new parking spot, and I heard some stuff going on. I thought it was tourist helicopters or whatever. It's Vegas. You can hear some weird shit, and didn't even put that kind of mentality. Looking back, I say, oh, it was helicopters. But next thing I know, somebody ran on the bus. I was like, oh my God, somebody's shooting. I'm like, bullshit. And, oh, come out here. And sure enough, a lot of stuff was going on. And so I got on the radio and, like an idiot or whatever, ran out into the crowd trying to find my guys, band guys and everything like that. We didn't have a big crew at that point. I think it was just me and a monitor engineer and the band, maybe merch. So I tried to find everybody. And when I got back to the bus, there was a bunch of people crouched down under the buses and, you know, looking for a safe haven. Ran into a few guys along the way that were ex-military as well. And, you know, wasn't much of a plan to come up with because nobody knew what was going on. Right. So we get on our bus and probably took 15 extra people on the bus, the crew bus at this point. And I turned off the generator, turned off all the lights. As far as I knew at this point, it was coming from the ground. And so we just wanted to be a innocuous looking, you know, just pass us by because nothing's going on in here. And we were supposed to have left right about the time that all this started happening. We were supposed to leave because we had to play Jimmy Kimmel the next day. And that didn't happen because the FBI and marshals and everything else shut everything down. They locked it down. And so everybody's just kind of waiting, hanging out on our bus. A couple of girls that I've kept in contact with, one of them's aunt was actually killed. She was one of the 58. And we keep in touch to this day. They've moved to North Carolina. But we didn't get to leave till we were supposed to leave at 6:30 in the morning when they, lifted the lockdown. But on the way out, they found another dead body in a parking lot, and so we had to stop again, wait another couple hours while they did their paperwork and investigation on that, and then we were able to leave. But we were hours upon hours late getting to L.A. And I felt worse for the people working the Jimmy Kimmel set because they know that what's going on, why we're late, and everything like that. And they didn't have any words. You know, they were sweet, but in the most awkward way possible.
Right.
Because there's no good way to have you.
Right.
Oh, these guys just watch a bunch of people get shot. And
right.
Some of them got shot at and whatever. But we made it through. I think, some people, some people would be haunted for the rest of their lives over it. Terrible, sad situation. But I think by now everybody's that I'm familiar with is kind of.
After you go through something like that with these guys, I imagine it's got to bring you closer.
Oh, for sure.
That's just such a tragic thing to witness, but to be together and to survive it together. And
definitely upped the family quotient of everything.
All right, folks, this is Cosmic Koolaid. I'm Corey Short. Todd Lewis in the booth with me. Todd is Luke Combs, front of house engineer. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to Cosmic Koolaid. I am your host, Corey Short. We got Todd Lewis, front of house for Luke Combs in the building with us today. We're so glad to have you here, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
There's some good stuff we're covering here today. All kinds of cool stuff. I'm finding out most of it is in the breaks that we can't share with the public, and I'm grateful for that knowledge. Don't worry, Cappy. He's not spilling none of the beans. It's okay, buddy. We're good.
My NDA is being adhered to.
No, not publicly anyway. But so which of Luke Combs' version of show do you prefer to be at? So at this point, you've done stadiums, clubs, everything in between, theaters, outdoor shows, indoor shows, festivals, talk shows, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon. You've done it all. Right. Good Morning America. At this point, you've literally done it all.
We've pretty much run the gambit of it, of all the shows.
What is your favorite version to work on?
Oh, man.
You like the talk shows?
I think they're cool. Jimmy Kimmel being so on that one, we actually play outside. We've done it twice now.
Now, have you gotten to meet Jimmy Kimmel?
Not so much. I've been probably 30 feet from him.
Yeah. But he doesn't come mix it up with you guys. He comes out of his green room on stage and then back to his green room. Got it.
It's pretty much like that. So what they do on those is it's a back lot with a basically permanent stage. The PA's already there. They've got a person on their crew that does the lighting because it's their lighting rig, and there's differences between a live show and TV as far as lighting goes. You don't want need cabbage here for this one, but in everything I've been told, if you look at TV shows, they don't want the moving head beams to hit a camera in the lens.
Right.
Flares out. It actually used to be a technical thing with the chip cameras, the tube cameras. It would actually burn out a tube, overload it, and you'd fry the magenta tube
right.
in a camera. And it's just stuck. But they give away tickets or something to that outdoor thing. Say, hey, be here at this time. And then we play a couple songs for TV, and then we do another 30, 45-minute set for the people that came. And it's cool. I would say my favorite big outdoor stuff. We did one in Quebec City. It's probably the biggest outdoor thing we've done, if I had to guess. Just so many people out there. But when you're outdoors, you don't have to worry about a room. Even in here, in this studio, you've got sound treatment up and stuff like that because you want a pretty pure, unadulterated sound from these microphones and stuff
right.
like that. When you're outdoors, you don't have to worry about room reflections. That sound just goes till it hits a person,
right,
or their ears. So you can pretty much rock out, and you've got as much control as you'll ever have in a show, and you can really mess with stuff in that way. The arenas, to me, even the best ones aren't good. You're always making compromises in what you're able to do, especially in the round. You're always.
Are we just speaking echo,
right. And just boominess. Some rooms are real, like the Atlanta Stadium. Like you could literally hear a snare drum. You'll hear it from the PA, and then half a second, 3/4
come back to you.
Yeah, you'll hear it come out of a fucking air conditioner vent. You're like, what the hell is that? So those things get wonky. So to me, from a sound guy perspective, that's the outdoor, fully outdoor. Even some of the stadiums, you've got boundaries in there, and you're pointing speakers at those boundaries because those boundaries are where the people are sitting. So you have some interaction there. The flat field is obviously, quote, the best to me. And I should say, Trying to come up with the best way to say it. So I mix for the audience, which is people. I guess because I'm out in the crowd, I get looked at as the quarterback of that audio team.
Sure.
But to me, a more important job would be the monitor position. And Michael Zeus, he is amazing at what he does. He keeps the guys.
And his job is just to make the guys comfortable.
Right.
Right.
So he has the exact same board that I have in front of house in his world in monitors, where I get to take liberties. I get to do basically what I want because they can't hear what I'm doing. They're all wearing in-ear monitors, basically, headphones that go in their ears that are custom fit to their ear canals. Zeus actually, he has to come up with 10 different mixes for everybody. They get what they want. So he's got to be in their head. He's a psychologist, basically. This guy wants it to sound like this. This guy wants it to sound like that. So he actually has the tougher job, where if he screws up on one, it's a little weird because if I have one thing go out, it's very apparent. If he messes up on one mix, it's only apparent to that one person. So, but I get to make the decisions for all 50, 60, 100,000 people.
Right.
They just have to deal with it.
Speaking of that, what is the largest crowd to date that you've mixed for? Was that Boone? App State?
App State was only, I think it was 40,000. They do 80, I believe it's 80,000 at Titan Stadium. But I would say Lollapalooza. I think that was probably the biggest.
Now, does Luke have Wimbledon coming up on the World Tour?
Not that I've seen.
It's coming one day.
Yeah. Oh, one day. I'm sure.
That's about 100,000 people in it, give or take.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Monster place. It'd be cool. Just like the O2 is one of those bucket list places. Red Rocks.
Now you've mixed Red Rocks.
Yes.
How was that?
That was cool.
Was it everything that, for those who've not been, was it everything that it's made out to be?
It's so it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to load your gear in because it is a national historic site or a national park at the same time. And it was built in the 20s or 30s. It's very, very old. They did just replace the roof over the stage.
The stage was built in the 20s, 30s?
I don't know that I would imagine, not sure that the stage
some variation of it.
Yeah, but if you go, when you're in the belly of the beast, basically, they've got all these pictures and stuff like that of, what it looked like before the seats were there and everything like that. And you look at it, and there's some places that you're 100 feet off the ground sitting in your seat. Pretty cool. And for me, I think the coolest part about mixing Red Rocks, it sounded great. I do have to admit that. It did sound really good. The hardest part is getting the sound from the stage all the way up that hill.
Yeah.
There's not enough room to hang a stack of speakers that'll get all the way up that hill. For most manufacturers of speakers. But I think the coolest part was I'm standing there mixing and I kind of got in a comfortable place and I turn around and there's Peyton Manning rocking out.
Cool.
I was like, okay.
That's
awesome. But because the way that place is built, there's actually a tunnel from backstage to the front of house area that goes under all the people and everything like that. And there's a door and you come up. So I didn't see him come in. I'm in my mix position. The door is behind me. So God only knows how long he'd been standing there and during my mix. So.
All right, enough about venues. Let's talk more of this the stuff that Luke Combs fans want to hear about. So have you met the baby yet?
Yes, the baby came out to one show, and he, I don't think he came into the venue. The baby and Nicole probably stayed on the bus because it's just loud and crazy. But he kind of held him up in the window of the bus. A couple of crew guys were standing out there doing what we do during the day when we're not doing other stuff. And
Lee and Rhonda come up with a name they want to be called yet? Are they Papa and Mama or?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know.
All right, Rhonda, I hope you're watching. We're gonna be wait. We want to know what baby Combs is gonna call you.
Yep.
Are you Mama? We want to know all that good stuff. Asheville wants to know about our boy. We love Luke Combs. Also love Caleb Johnson, our American Idol winner. You keep up with Caleb?
I haven't in a while.
Man, I just saw today where the 6th place guy on his show died of a heart attack. C.J. Harris.
Oh wow. I've actually
CJ died of a heart attack today. It was on TMZ.
Wow.
All right, so Todd Lewis. We know that one of Luke's biggest songs from last year or maybe the year before, time flies, I don't know, was if I wasn't doing this, I'd still be doing this. If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
This.
And if
there's been so many times, and this song is just one of the illustrations of it, where he'll cut a song and I have no idea, and he'll run it during sound check, acoustic. For a while, he was doing pre-doors. He would let a small group of people in. He'd play a song for them, acoustic, and I'd have to be out there for it. And I remember, because I'm leaving, I'd never heard it before, and I'm standing at the console crying my eyes out. And I'm supposed to be the tough, sound guy, whatever. No emotion, Todd, or whatever. And doing this, it really hit home because it was like, here I am, 35 years of doing this, basically. And it really hit home. And the first time I heard it, man, I just teared up.
what's the song? You're not leaving. Where his dad died at the end.
Yeah, that's because I'm leaving.
Man, I remember the first time I heard that song, and I was like, man, it's like he wrote that about you.
Yeah.
And your boys.
Yeah.
And you're out here pursuing your dream, and you're following Luke around the world, and I know that's got to be hard for a dad with 2 young boys, and everybody knows when you come home what a great dad you are. Right. There's no question what a wonderful dad you are, but I know how hard it is being out on the road. And man, I swear I cried like a baby. Yeah. First time I was like, he wrote that for you. That's what it felt like.
For sure.
And now that he's got a son, he's going to know.
Exactly.
That song's going to have a whole new meaning, but beautiful song. And,
That one really hit home for me, being ex-military. It was like verse by verse, you're like, holy, gee, wow. Just every verse, just a gut punch every time. In the way that it's written, like so many songs, not just his, but a lot of songs out there, interpretation. It might say this, but you can interpret it as that. And that's the power of music.
Absolutely. Well said, man. So, do you guys have any traditions out on the road? Like, there's we got to try the sushi place, or is there like culinary traditions that Luke's got to have every time he's in a certain city, or any fun things like that you can share? Like, we know Obama, every time he came to Asheville, he had to have 12 bones.
Right.
Like, is there any fun stories like that from the road with Luke?
I feel like when we go, we always try, and we've got a great catering crew.
They travel with you?
Yes, they actually travel with us. Dumb shit like they really make you feel at home. Or one time I was like, oh man, it'd be nice to have this whatever creamer for coffee, because I drink way too much coffee for any one human being. And the next day, that creamer's sitting there in the refrigerator. Sounds dumb, but it's just a small detail.
Sure.
And I'm nobody. It's not like I'm Luke asking for it. They could have just told me to piss up a rope, and deal with French vanilla or whatever. But they really take care of us out there. And when we're in a city, that has a or a region that has, lobster or whatever, or down Louisiana, they bring in stuff, have a big oyster, low country boil, or we'll have, whatever, especially after the show. Sometimes there's, you'll run into like, oh, well, this place has great fried chicken, or this place has, whatever. They'll do some of that, just to kind of change it up from the everyday that you have in the Midwest.
Right. All right, we're going to take one more break and come back for our fourth and final segment where we dig in a little further into Mr. Todd Lewis. Again, this is Luke Combs, front of house sound engineer. He's been with him since day one right here at the Orange Peel in Asheville, North Carolina. We're so glad to have you here. And stay with us. Don't forget, check out Trinity Farms, our sponsor, making this show possible. All the best cannabis, CBD, Delta 8, Delta 9, whatever new variant. It's all legal. You can get it there at Trinity Farms in Black Mountain. We'll be right back.
Okay. Hey y'all, I'm Dunbar with Instant Karma Asheville. We are a one-stop hippie shop and a true Asheville experience. Oh, and we have 3D tapestries. You gotta check this out. See what I'm saying? Every 3D tapestry comes with a free pair of 3D glasses. It's amazing. And we have beautiful dream catchers for catching all those dreams that you don't want to have. Two locations, one in West Asheville on Haywood Road, and the other one is downtown on North Lexington Avenue. Make sure you check out our online store at instantkarmaasheville.com. And I can say we are the place you want to be.
And welcome back to Cosmic Koolaid. I'm your host, Corey Short, and again, we got Todd Lewis, who is the sound man extraordinaire for Mr. Luke Combs. They're going out on the big world tour in 2023. They played the biggest venues in the country and some in the world, with even more stuff in the works for 2023. So glad to have you here, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me.
Todd's been a good friend of mine for a long time, and he's just an incredible sound guy, an incredible friend. And we're super happy to have you here. All right, so what we've got here is some questions really about you. We touched on a lot of stuff about Luke, but this is more you and kind of guidance that you could give some young up-and-comers in the business, and if they want to do what you do or learn the sound game. So these are more towards you. So I guess, what's one thing you wish you would have known before you started this career? What would have helped you be further along today, which is impossible to think about because you're at the top of the game. But if you wish you'd known something in the beginning, what would that have been?
I would definitely say networking. That's the number one thing. And I don't mean anything by this, but there's definitely people out there that I've seen that are great at networking that may be less qualified at their job.
But got that job because they were good at networking.
Exactly.
Right.
I think everybody is a salesperson, and the product that you're selling is yourself. Skill set is obviously important, but I feel like people should concentrate more on being, hey, I'm Todd Lewis. If you ever need anything, get business cards. Get out there on the social media. Whatever the new best way of reaching out to people is. For me, I didn't even think about it at the time. All these cats are living in Nashville. I'm blessed that I don't have to live there. Just because I'm not a big city guy. They're fine to go in and check out the stuff, but then I want to get out and I want to be peaceful,
Right.
But yeah. And, while the networking is super important, and some people might even say more important, on the skill set side is while you're young, before you have kids, before you settle down, if that's the term we want to use, is get those skills, study everything you can. One of the things that I did, the orange peel really helped me out with was you don't have a deep crew. You've got the primaries and everybody works all the shows. So everybody kind of needs to know a little bit about everything.
Right.
I'm a sound guy, but, I could probably tear a moving head lighting fixture apart. Might not work when I get done with it, but I can at least tear it apart for the guys that do the work.
Right.
Or, just really get an overall knowledge, because you might say that, oh, well, I want to be a monitor guy because, the monitor guy's got the best relationship with the artist because they're real intimate, and having to mix for them. Or you want to be a front of house guy. Well, you might get in there and go, screw this, I want to be a lighting guy or a video guy.
Right.
Don't lock yourself into a thing. Get a really good breadth of knowledge, and then you can decide. But it's great to be able to be conversant in everything and give a damn. That was one of the questions I was asked on another podcast. What do you want your legacy to be? I don't take myself so seriously to think that I'm going to have a legacy, but if,
I promise you, your boys, your sons think you do.
Yeah.
My daddy's Luke Combs sound man. That's
Right.
huge, bro.
Right.
And even though it will never hold the magnitude in your mind it does to them,
Right.
it can't be understated. You're a king to those boys.
Well-
You are Luke Combs to those boys.
Right. But, more important than that is I'm their dad.
Absolutely.
That comes first. And it's taken me a lot of years to realize that, that this is what I do to be able to provide for them.
Sure.
But first off, I am their dad. And I'm very lucky to have a network of people around me, and the boys, to where they know they're loved wherever they go. They've got it good on a lot of aspects of life where some kids don't have that. But yeah, I'm in a position now to where it's like, this is what I do, but it's a means to an end.
Sure. So, there's really no end in sight for Luke. He could do this for the next 30 years, or are you going to ride that train till the end?
That's my plan. There's in some other conversations I've had outside of just straight up work related stuff, is that's kind of the plan that I'm hearing, is that we've got a long-term plan, and that when you get upset about this, it's like, well, we're actually playing the long game here, and it's like, okay, well, that makes sense. So and I'm totally okay. It'd be one thing if I was mixing music I hated,
Right.
but I'm very fortunate in that I like country music.
Right.
You know? So
Right.
I'm very, very. Maybe that's where the lucky word could be
Sure.
used.
Sure. And I get that. I retired from the karaoke world,
Right.
as have you. We both were there once upon a time, but I have retired from the karaoke world because, well, I hate it. I mean, I hate everything about it.
Oh, for
yes,
sure.
it raised all of my children. It paid for all their meals their whole life, and I'm thankful for that and the people that supported it at that time.
Right.
But now, goodbye. Goodbye. I hate all of it.
Yeah.
The
Too
last,
many nights
I mean, I
of
got to be pissed drunk to get up there and sing, or even I don't want anywhere near that stage, that DJ booth. I'm so far removed from that. So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm sure you can share in some of that.
17 years of it.
All right, so moving on. What advice would you give somebody just starting into this? So let's say one of your boys or one of my sons, Uncle Todd, tell us, I want to be in the sound game. What's your advice?
Study. Take every opportunity you can, whether it be in exactly what you think you want to do or not. And it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. If it makes sense to you, get out there and do it. You know, for a long time, especially early on, I heard a lot of the, when are you going to get a real job? You know, the old, I'm going to be somebody someday song, you know. That one rings home, you know, friends and family, to varying degrees. You know, when I started all this, you know, it was an evening thing. You know, it was the karaoke, it was the little solo acoustic band kind of thing, the wedding, whatever, and DJ, and you know, and you learn the principles that way. But you're going to have to make concessions to provide, you know, if doing this isn't providing fully for your family. So you have to do things, but every opportunity you can get, whether it's pulling cables, just get exposed to it, get in there, and give it all you've got. You know, like I tell my boys, I don't care if you shovel shit for a living, be the best shit shoveler that there ever was.
Damn right. So you said earlier that you felt like your biggest failure was that night with Ed Sheeran and losing Luke's vocals that night. But when you put that question in context, is that truly your biggest failure of your career?
It depends on how we ask.
Because I'm looking for that darkest moment that you're responsible for and what you learned from it. This is probably gonna get edited out too.
No,
Because
I've been lucky.
yeah.
We're going to use that word again. But, you know, I've been lucky, and I think a lot of it has come from working with people that are really fucking good at what they do.
Yeah.
You know, when I was at the Orange Peel, you know, there was a time when we had one vehicle, and if I wanted to be able to go to work that evening, I would have to ride in with my wife. She worked fairly close. She dropped me off at 7:30 in the morning,
Right.
and might not have a load in until 4:30 that afternoon. Well, I had a key. I'd go in. I'd just tray stuff down. You know, it's like, oh, well, what's this do? What's that do? I don't have a formal education in any of this.
Right.
You know,
That's the crazy part about this. Number one sound job in the world, no degree. That's amazing, bro.
Yeah, you know, they got Full Sail, and they've got, you know, all these Blackbird Academies. They got some cool shit out there that really gets you over the hump. Even here locally, Blue Ridge College has a degree program in audio production live.
And really, kudos to Sound Extreme Ben Sikorsky for that, because he gave you a lot of into that.
Yes, working with him. With Ben, you know, he gave me exposure, and he gave me the liberty, it's probably a good way to put it, to expand stuff on the live side. I was able to, like, hey man, let's do some bigger band stuff. Let's do some bigger band stuff. And he had access to gear and stuff like that.
Sure.
That was the best that we had in Asheville, for the live band side. And then, continuing on, once I was able to get on with Stewart Sound.
Shout out Chad Stewart.
Chad Stewart for sure. He's honestly, I was talking about networking. That man right there, Chad Stewart, is the one that showed me how to network.
Yeah.
He didn't mean to, but he was so damn good at it, it rubbed off even on my dumb ass.
He's pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without being, quote, a salesman, because I hate a salesman. But he did it in such a way that you felt good getting sold something. He really showed me a lot there. And I'm glad you mentioned that because sometimes I'll forget to bring him up.
Yeah, man. Love Chad. So if those of you that don't know me or my background, we have Silverados in Black Mountain. It's an outdoor concert space, 3,000 cap. And Chad Stewart and XL Media Works do a phenomenal job on our production there. And we're so thankful to have them. We all kind of circle back to each other on some level. Ben Sikorsky, Todd, me, Chad, we've all in some way been in cahoots for years, and it's just nice to see how all these guys are thriving right now.
Yep.
Especially you, buddy. What are some great resources that have helped you along the way? Like if somebody says, so you say Full Sail, you're dropping school names, but somebody wants to do this, is it YouTube? Like what's the best way to learn today?
There are some YouTube things. There's plenty of great engineers out there that are giving information away for free. I started a YouTube channel and started down that path, and one of my biggest faults is follow through on something.
I can relate.
Make 4 or 5 videos, and then, it's just sitting there. There's some great engineers out there giving their expertise away for free. The problem is there's a bunch of fucking shysters out there that will say stuff like, this one trick will help all of your mixes. And it's like, there's no magic pill. When you're dealing with music, you're dealing with people, playing the instruments. You're dealing with the environment. You're dealing with the weather. You're dealing with all kinds of stuff that, from the outside you don't see. Full Sail, I've heard of varying degrees of success with that. I've known of people that have spent $60,000 on a program and didn't get much out of it. Some of that is, I think, is part of the program because it's supposed to be a self-paced learning type thing. And then the people that go to Full Sail in person, just like anything, you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Right.
And some of that stuff is a little gimmicky. Just like I say, you get out of it what you put into it. If you think you're just going to be handed a degree and touring with the Rolling Stones next week, you're fucking delusional.
Right.
So
with that being said, we've already determined that you have one of the top 1 or 2, maybe debatably 3 sound jobs in the whole planet, in the whole world. With that understanding, who are the 3 most influential people to get you to that place? Who are the 3 people you would want to thank the most?
Man, I would say I'll probably be 4 or so.
We can handle one more, sure.
Definitely, the person that I worked for first that trusted me was Ben Sikorsky.
Sure.
You gave me a chance at things.
Man, I don't belong on this list.
You're full of shit.
You saved my ass is all we. Thank you for saying that, but
that's what
Ben really Ben and you in the beginning was special. Yeah.
Definitely Chad Stewart. And I remember a lot of times looking to a guy named Robert Scoville coming up. I was like, man, this guy's he's actually a rep for Avid, console manufacturer. He was kind of the face of Avid consoles back in the day, and he had a series, and he Q&A stuff and these lives that he would do, and give out information. And it was, from a guy actually working in the business. He was Tom Petty's front of house guy, obviously, until he died.
Right.
He's Kenny Chesney's front of house guy now. I picked up a lot of stuff. There's not enough time to say, oh, well, I learned this one from
Was
this.
was there ever like A-listers or heavy hitters in the game that you would try to mock their sound, or like I want to mix like him, or was it always your own style from day one?
Oh man, I think from the beginning I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Right.
I honestly I was like, well, that sounds like a guitar. It sounds like a MIDI guitar. Getting yelled at by people that I was doing monitors for, like, what the hell's that? Okay, well, let's try again. Okay, oh, that sounds cool. In my aim, it sounds weird. I've always tried to go for a sound that's almost not, I want to say not musical, but that theater sound. Like when
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like that THX.
I can't reproduce it, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I'll never forget the first time that Ben Sikorsky sent me and you out to do a wedding together. And this is when I really knew that you were special, because we had this gigantic board, bigger than I had ever used before, and you're dialing in the speakers, and I'm following your lead, and I'm whatever up at the board, and you're like, Corey, turn down number 48 or some random number out of 100 fucking band equalizer. You picked one number and you're like, bring number 48 down or whatever number it was. And I was just like, what the hell? One out of all these knobs, he knows the exact one to make it per that. In that moment, I was blown away.
Right.
I knew that you were special, or at least that skill set was special. And I would never achieve that.
Right.
In that moment, I knew that. So I've been impressed by you since that moment and what you're able to bring to the table. Debunk one myth about this industry for our audience.
Cocaines and hookers.
Doesn't really happen.
No.
Amen to that, dude. Jimmy Allen came to Silverados. These guys are out doing yoga and all this other stuff out on my dance floor. I'm like, man, this has changed, bro. This ain't like that Rockstar movie with Mark Wahlberg.
Shit.
They're out here doing yoga and eating vegan, and
oh yeah,
they're in it for the long game, man.
Oh, for sure. And there's so much money going around.
Yeah.
That you can't risk fucking that up.
Right.
My thing.
And now there's cameras everywhere.
So
they couldn't get away with it if they wanted to.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, that doesn't mean that a guy can't have extracurricular activities on his own.
Sure.
But you're not just, like Rockstar, you're not just lining chicks. Hallway, 100 chicks deep. That's some bull crap. Right. There's so much liability. You say one off thing, everybody's got a recording studio in their pocket. Everybody. And
sometimes really good.
Right.
You get some really good vocal effects with that thing. Like, really good sounding stuff.
And you can be in a world of hurt real quick. And the thing is, you might, it's like, okay, well, you're only working when you're on the job. You're still a representative of the artist 24/7. Me sitting here, I'm still a representative of my boss. So I can have, if I say the wrong thing, I can be held accountable. Or if I say the wrong thing, quote the world, knowing that I'm front of house engineer for Luke, if I say something just the wrong way, it can come back to him. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff that everybody has to be mindful of, and everybody wants to sue everybody. Everybody's looking for a quick way to get rich.
Yep.
So you're literally on duty for your boss 24/7, 365. You might not be at work, but if you're wearing something that says, your boss's name on it, and you go showing your ass in traffic, or flipping people off. Oh, next thing you know, it's on TMZ. Luke Sound Guy's out flipping people off, drunk as hell, naked.
All right.
On South Lexington Avenue. I don't know. So there's
All right.
that.
So I'm not going to ask you about who your least favorites are because we don't need Cappy getting phone calls and having to field bullshit. But tell me who some of the favorite artists are that you've worked with in the industry alongside Luke. Openers, festival. You said you worked with Morgan Wallen a little bit. Everybody's going to want to hear about that, of course. But who are some of your favorites?
I feel like Morgan was great. He great crew, great production. They've gone and they hit the merge lane, and now they're running right beside us. Probably a little back and forth between who's doing the most. But super nice guy. I feel like
Him and Luke are buddies, right?
I would have to assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ashley McBride, amazing person. It's just a hoot of a person. A lot of people look at these artists and think that they're stuck up, or they don't want to talk to people, or that whatever.
I watched her Ryman debut show. Man, she's special.
Oh my gosh, she's so special.
Yeah, she's special.
When she does, that's another song, "Girl Going Nowhere." When she did acoustic at the Opry, I sat there and cried with her. I mean, just a great human being.
As males and as vocalists, we tend to sing male vocals.
Right.
We tend to sing other male country singers or whatever. But man, I tell you what, some of these country women are just badass, dude.
Oh, for sure.
Ashley McBride, freaking Tin Man.
Miranda
at the CMAs doing Tin Man.
Yeah.
Dude, the courage that must have took to stand up there all by her damn self with that guitar and a room full of the best musicians in the world.
Yep.
And slay that song the way she did, dude. That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
I gained so much respect for her in that moment, dude. So good.
Yeah. I've honestly been lucky with the people that our tour has surrounded itself with. I feel like every opener that we've had has been just amazing. And the crews have been great. We try to really foster a family vibe out there on the road.
So you mentioned Peyton Manning and Post Malone and some other rando appearances. Ed Sheeran, y'all did that show together. And who's some other people that have just randomly popped up at Luke's shows that big celebrities?
Keith Urban. A few years ago, we were playing Bridgestone Arena. And I believe it was the second night that we were playing there. I get a call, "Hey, I need you to come check another guitar, a guest guitar." I was like, "Okay." And it was Keith fucking Urban, which is one of the first shows I ever went to in country music. It was actually done at It's Always Going to Be Bilo Center. It's Bon Secours now or whatever. I saw him. Carrie Underwood was opening for him.
Yeah.
God only knows how long ago that was. But just an amazing show. And he came out and did Hurricane with us. And that was really cool.
He did a solo acoustic show at a CMA Awards one time that was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
That's a good spot for those.
Oh, yeah.
Really dig into the raw part of the artist.
Yep.
But, all right, man. Well, we're not going to keep you too much longer. We've been going nearly 2 hours here. I think we did good for a first podcast.
Shit, yeah.
And I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Yeah, man. I
Really
appreciate
means
you
a lot.
Really appreciate you.
So we're going to leave our audience with this. First of all, well, two things. Are there any questions that you wish I had asked that you want my audience to know about? Is there anything up your sleeve that you were hoping I would ask you? That's a fun one.
I feel like we really covered a lot.
Do you enjoy what you do?
I wouldn't do anything else.
You love your boss?
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
You love Cappy?
Oh, for sure. We've had our differences over
Of
the
course,
years.
of course.
That's just human nature.
Cappy, if you ever watch this episode, know that we want you on this show too. So hop over to Asheville, and me, you, and Todd will sit here and talk more Luke stuff. Yeah. We'll get Rhonda and Lee in here too. We'll make it a good time.
Yeah, we'll sell some chickens while we're at it.
So, last question. How can our audience reach you for business, professional? Are you on Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. Todd Lewis, FOH, I think is the way to get a hold of me on there. On Instagram, it's retod4259 because I'm immature. Thank you, Ben Sikorsky, for that nickname. And toadofhouse@gmail.com is me. It would take a lot, honestly. It would take, you would be
I don't think you can put a price on it.
You can put a price on.
No, what a ride, man.
Very secure
What a ride.
where I'm at.
So thank you so much for being here. You're truly one of my best friends on earth, and I'm just in awe of you. I have been for 20 years, and it just means a lot that you took the time to be here. And he says he's going to come back again and again when he's in town and keep us updated on Luke and all things world tour. So thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
And don't forget, check out Trinity Farms, our sponsor for this show. I'm Corey Short. This is Cosmic Koolaid, and we'll see you in episode 2.